What is up, everybody? It's your boy WhiskeyMo. Very excited to introduce to you. We had a explosive ordnance disposal technician question and answer over on the Air Force Special Warfare Discord. If you aren't, please get down there. Links will be below. Get into the Discord. Learn everything you can about Air Force Special Warfare, combat support, about Sister Services Soft. We are here to have a conversation. So I hope that you enjoy this. The fellows did a great job answering all the questions. If you want to learn more, please click the link below, join the Air Force Special Warfare Discord, and I hope you really enjoy. So stay tuned and look forward to question and answer with EOD. All right, let's go ahead and get some introductions out of the way. Again, my name is Morgan Houston. I am a former TACP. We are here to talk EOD with some fine folks. Oh man, did everyone mute again? There we go. So if we can get some introductions, if you would please make sure that you are off mute on the stage. But we'll start with ID. If you would please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, EOD Tech here. I'm out at Edwards, also with Busto, Magic Man. I've been in the career field for a little over a year. I graduated in 24. Yeah. So far, love it here. Yeah, but however, we're stuck in the middle of nowhere Mojave Desert, so there are I guess some complaints about the location, but otherwise, good shop, good career field.
All right, let's move on to Half-Eaten Sig.
Hi, I am Senior Machinifelt. I have been in the career field just over a year, and I'm kind of in the same boat in Minot, North Dakota. So we focus more on nuclear responses and lots of training.
Awesome. Thank you. Quaz, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, my name's Jacob. I'm out at FE Warren, so just a little bit south of Half-Eaten Sig, also part of Global Strike. Graduated nav school back in 21, and I'll be at Tyndall Air Force Base soon, but until then, living the Global Strike life. So,
excellent. Cheems, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, please.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Cheems. I was at Barksdale beforehand, so I understand how you Global Strike guys feel. I'm currently out at Kunsan though. Been in the career field since whatever 23 minus whatever year we're in now is. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
And Magic Man / Busto, introduce yourself, please, sir.
Hello. As Eddie said, we're both at Edwards. I've been in the career field for like 8 months, actually 7 months, I think. So still kind of new, just trying to finish upgrade. Good shop, like he said. And I personally like the area just because LA is so close, and I'm from California, so I'm not far from home.
Too bad I'm not in Denver, man. Jacob, you could pop back down, dude. I used to live down over in Denver. So I'm still close. I'm in Grand Junction, but FE Warren's not too far away.
Yeah, make the trip quite often to Denver. Run out of things to do pretty quick in Cheyenne.
All right, so I don't blame you. Cheyenne has only got so much to do. But what we're going to start with, I think, first off, is if you guys wouldn't mind giving a rundown of what the EOD pipeline looks like, starting from basic training all the way through nav school. Whoever wants to take that.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. It's 3 parts. It's going to be your BMT for 8 weeks, and then it's going into your preliminary course. We call it prelim over at Shepherd Air Force Base. Typically, it's about a month and a half long, a little under that. And then you head on over to Eglin Air Force Base for NAVSCOLIAD. It's going to be a Navy school for about, I think it's like 9 months if you don't roll back or anything like that. Yeah.
Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, no, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I could flesh it out a little bit since it's kind of he kind of shortened it down a lot, but like when you get to nav school, you're gonna go through multiple divisions, starting with demo, and then you'll go into tools and methods that are used. Ground ordnance division, where you cover grenades, projectiles, rockets, and landmines. Air, well, you'll cover bombs, dispensers and payloads, guided missiles, IEDs, biochem, and then R&Ds, which is radiological and nuclear devices. And then once you're done with that, you finally make it.
So when you guys get to your first duty station after you finish the pipeline, and how long does that take? Does the pipeline take?
It could take
Um,
anywhere from
are you-
8 to 12 months.
Okay, 8 to 12 months. Still not a small amount of time, but this is especially for y'all who are really short in the career field, just because you guys are more recent. But anyone can chime in on this. Once you get to your first duty station, what does it look like?
I can take this. You show up at your shop and you're expected to get the training immediately. At least for me, at my shop, focuses training because nuclear response is pretty rare. We have a lot of time to dedicate to honing our skills, and you're get handed a packet pretty much of around 136, actually exactly 136 tasks, and you're expected to complete that in or under a year. But it just goes over a deeper level of understanding with all the tools that we use. It's some of the stuff you'll recognize from nav school, but a lot of it is new. And even if you do recognize it from nav school, you're hitting it at a deeper understanding than you did in school. So
Yeah, to kind of expound on that, you typically in process for about a month, depending on how your like finance department, your MPF is. If they're on top of it, they could in process you typically within a month, and then you get to meet like random people like your UDM, your unit deployment manager, your commander, to get like your SIMWIDI brief, which is basically being read into um, nuclear publications, so that if there is a nuke response, you can respond. And then during that month, it's kind of tough to train, since you typically have to be spun up on a lot of things. There's a home start checklist that you have to go through, and then once you get to that, as Shani has stated, you move on to your training packet, and typically most guys do it within about a year.
A year, okay. Once and is this all part of this is for you getting your upgrade is all about getting your 5 level, correct? Put it into to speak that I understand.
yes.
Okay. So after
there's also CDCs. I forgot to mention that.
oh, this is all in addition to your CDCs. Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah, you're hitting it both at the same time.
Is it still 2 editions of CDCs? 2
It's
sets?
like
No,
It was
volume or
changed right when
2
I
sets?
finished.
2
I'm
sets,
on the
like volume?
newest. I'm on the newest set of CDCs. They're all online, and you have 4 modules and then an EOC. And each module goes over like something specific. So like there's one module on like blast frag calculations, new QD, what that means. They goes into like different types of explosives, primary, secondary, main charges, tertiary, all that stuff. Then
Are you
there's
saying it
like,
makes sense now?
Yes.
yeah, it's actually very helpful. Like there's a lot of good information in there. Unironically, it's not just like stuff to know. It's like stuff that actually helps you understand. And then they go over like all the ordnance again, and like IED, VIPSA procedures, stuff like that. They actually also tell you how to work EOD IMS, which helps a lot. But yeah,
So for
new CDCs are good.
For those of you who don't know, your CDCs are the process that you go through. What are those? What is it? The Career Development Course, I believe, is what that stands for.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. So in the Air Force, our AFSCs has a numeral identifier for our level, our qualification in 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. A 1, you don't have anything. A 3 is an apprentice. 5 is a journeyman, 7 is a craftsman, and 9 is just like the master. So those are the real big ones. So the CDCs are really important for any career field. The last time when I did mine now 20 plus years ago, it was like, I think two volumes for us too. I can't remember. I did half of them when I was in Iraq, so I can't even remember it. But after you guys get your 5 level, does that open anything up for you? Anything like specialist schools or special assignments or anything like that?
I would say until you get your 5 level, you're more of a drain on the shop than anything. It sounds kind of like harsh, but I would say that's accurate because you can't pull standby. You can't really do anything that's helpful to the shop aside from complete your upgrade training. So you're kind of just another member of the shop there for a full year without being able to do any of the functions that a shop needs. So getting your 5 level opens you up to actually being able to do your job more so than, I would say, like being a 3 level. Being a 3 level, your whole job is just basically relearning everything you did in school and learning it to a finer degree. Once you get your 5 level, then you're able to do all the extra stuff like going to schools and being able to go on response calls and stuff like that.
So just out of curiosity, so like my first deployment happened, I was still a 3 level and I was operational because even though like you're not fully CMR'd or you're not fully qualified as a 5 level, you still have the basic skill sets required to like do the job in combat. So for you guys, is that a thing as well, or will you not be able to do a thing until you're a 5 level?
I
So-
had a tech sergeant who just moved from our shop that did deploy as a 3 level.
Okay.
So
Yeah, back when it was like 05, 06, like early GWAT, like it's not uncommon for 3 levels to just instantly show up to your shop in process and then just get deployed straight out the door. But currently, that's not the case. As Keem was saying, you're kind of almost useless. Not so much in like you're not a functioning member of the shop, but more so legally, you can't do a lot of the things that the career field needs you to do.
So there's a legal
Operationally.
component, an authorities component.
Yeah. Like somebody a 5 level has to watch you prep your demo. You
Okay.
can't prep it by yourself as a 3 level.
Okay. Cool. That actually
Yeah,
explains a
so-
lot.
Going back to the upgrade training, there's trained and then certified.
Mm.
So you basically have to do everything twice. So like he was saying, a 5 level will have to watch you do your demo, and then you can get trained. They sign you off saying, hey, this guy did everything he was supposed to correctly and safely. I'm training him. And then the next time you do demo, you'll say to a 7 level, hey, I'm trained on this. I want to certify. Can you watch me? And then in that case, like 7 levels aren't allowed to give you any input on if you're doing something right or wrong. You just kind of do it, and they'll make sure you're being safe. And then you get certified, and then technically you're allowed to do that without supervision. But until you're a 5 level, you're almost always going to be supervised.
So it sounds like like you have multiple check rides. Like when we were doing it, like you would get a check ride to, test everything and you could be combat mission ready and it's part of your 5 level upgrade. But for you guys have to go through each individual step. Is that what I'm getting from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
to kind of make it, I guess, make sense to distinguish between the training to the certified. Like if we're training somebody, I could come in and train somebody, and as I'm training them, like whatever they're doing, I can be like, hey, let's pause right here. We should try to do it this way, or like, hey, this is the best way to do this, and they continue on. Next time when they do that, when it comes to certifying them on the task, there will be no hints, no help, nothing. Just you set up your stuff, show me you know how to do it, you're certified.
I think that really clarifies it. Thank you, gentlemen. Next question that comes from Wild Bill. Since we talk about now that you're certified, now that you're trained, all of these things, you got your 5 level. What are some of the schools that are open and common for an EOD tech?
it kind of depends on your shop's budget for the year. Pretty much that's the only real limitation. Um, According to our AFI for the career field, pretty much every school is open to us, from Ranger to Air Assault to Airborne Free Fall. It's just really dependent on your shop leadership, if they're willing to let you go or not, and also like if they have the training budget for you.
How frequent is free fall? That's I gotta know. I gotta know.
Falls like 2-4.
The 724
I
guys.
don't. Yeah, I don't really think many people. I mean, I'm sure some of the guys who've been in longer can talk over me, but I don't.
I know one EOD tech that's been to free fall, and it's because he went all the way through the combat control pipeline and quit while he was in STTS.
Really?
And that's the only one I know of.
Guy had a beret and quit.
He did.
Jesus Christ, that's a first. No wonder. I'm not surprised we don't hear about it. That's not something that I think the career field would really want for anyone to advertise. But yeah, cool. This is as we talk about school, something that I had always heard was a rumor, but I'd love to see if there's some possible clarification. Because I can't remember who I was talking to, but it was an Air Force EOD guy talking about using like long range shooting as like on munitions. So is like a shooting school something that would be common, or is that like something they were blowing smoke up my ass?
So we're actually sorry.
No, you go ahead, man.
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of, we got 3 or 4 of us guys who are qualified on the M110, and we're trying to get slots right now up at, I don't know if you know where Guernsey is, but it's in Wyoming, and we're trying to get to a course they call SEC, and it's Air Force Sniper School.
That's dope.
But yeah. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. It's in the works.
It seems like all of these career fields, all 6 of them, are in such flux right now, and it seems like they're in flux for the better.
It's I feel like it's hard to say on that, because I mean, there's obviously there's a lot of talk of different things that we're trying to do, but then there's a lot of holding your breath, like, hey, this sounds really awesome. Is it going to happen?
All right. Interesting question from Natural Capacity, and I think some of you guys will be able to answer this. Like, say someone decided to go to SEER or maybe one of the GAST TACP schools, and they didn't make it. Would they be able to go into the EOD pipeline?
I'm pretty sure you're able to. I think currently you're not able to retrain into EOD because we are actually overmanned by a lot in the E3, E4 categories by like, I think 115, 110%. We're lacking in staff, so.
Okay. So yeah, so it's a possibility. Always ask is the thing that's always a good thing no matter what.
Sorry, can you clarify? Were you saying like if they quit out, why they're like at SWIC, or if they quit out, why they're at some point in the pipeline for another career field?
I don't think it was quit so much as fail, I think was the question that I'm seeing. Well, no, there is quit. So quit, I think those are 2 separate, probably going to give you 2 separate answers if I'm guessing right.
It's hard to say. No, there's a different person who's there that are at the Chapman right now, but back in 2020, I actually quit out of when I was in Special Warfare Prep at the time, and there was a man named Master Sergeant Finn who was an EOD tech, met me there and talked to me and was like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And of course, I didn't want to get thrown to the wolves and get a random job in the Air Force. And after a short interview, he picked up probably about half of us that interviewed around that time frame.
So based on those, it sounds like it's mostly whatever's, if there's slots available. So if there's not a lot of room for younger guys in the E3, E2, E3 range, probably wouldn't be an option. It's going to be, so the biggest thing here is to be flexible, but ask, seek it out. That's always the case.
For sure. And One's Ready actually just put an episode out on this with the EOD guy who's actually at Chapman.
Oh, cool.
In charge of this, decides who comes and who goes.
Well, there you go. Go watch that one. I haven't watched it yet because I wanted to talk to these guys first before I watched it. They kind of stole our thunder by accident, and I never blame them because they have long-term planning on that stuff. So yeah. All right, so here's another interesting question, and I think some of this probably comes from a lack of understanding, but I think the intent of the question is actually a good one, and so it's, can EOD techs join SOF units when they become? He says staff sergeants, but I think in this case it'd probably be after a 5 level. What is the process for an EOD guy to hop over to the SOF world?
As it stands right now, our only way into SOF right now is the 2-4, and
Okay.
they have so few slots that you're really going to be a season 7 level before you assess and actually get picked up there. And not to, kind of stray people and be like, oh, I'm going to join because of this. We have stuff in the works right now for, tier 2 type soft, working directly with SDSs. If that happens, it's still kind of a long way away, but we're making big steps right now. We have a selection that's coming up, and if you get picked up for the selection, there's going to be Marine Special Operations EOD course that those EOD techs are going to go through, and then gonna kind of have an identifier at first, to where when they get requests for forces, whether it's from the SDS units, Green Berets, anybody like that, where they'll be the guys who will actually be able to go out and do those missions. Hopefully that eventually leads to having actual SDS units set up, who that is their primary job. But that is not a guaranteed. It's something in the works that as a career field, we are trying to make happen right now.
I had
Yeah.
heard in the past, not recently, though, that there was also a push to get as more TAC-Ps were getting into some demo stuff to have have EODs at the ASOSs as well. Is that something that has ever been discussed?
I'm not aware if we are trying to move techs over to the ASOSs, but yeah, the only real way is to assess during the 2 times a year that they open up the assessment and selection to EOD techs to the 2-4.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because you guys' assessment is going to be very different than ours would be, because we go through the operator, and I believe you guys go through the support selection.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what the details are.
You can find the
I believe
details.
it's like 5 weeks.
Yeah. You can find the bare details at the 724 website, so you can always put that in. Onyx, if you wouldn't mind finding that for me real quick and put it in the chat.
Yeah, because
We had a guy.
they just came out with like new guidance on how the career field wants to move onward with that. It was earlier. It was already mentioned like how
Mhm.
you get like an identifier, so you're not necessarily in the unit itself, but like you're just essentially qualified to be pushed out the door if like you know a tier 1 unit needed EOD techs
Mhm.
on said missions.
So, based off of what we were talking about earlier with the identifier and all those things, you made some mentions of bouncing around to different types of units. When, as an enabler, like all the other aspect war jobs are, what does a deployment look for an Air Force EOD?
So I'm pretty fresh off deployment, and it's gonna really greatly depend on where you're at. So I got sent, and I think I left out in October of like 23 to head to Jordan. And at the time, like obviously we know what was going on with Israel and all that. So the deployment turned out to be okay for what an EOD deployment is nowadays, because it's base support. You're really there, and you're doing kind of the same job you would be doing stateside. Like you're pulling, base response, responding to the aircraft if there's a problem on the aircraft. And that's about it. I got lucky enough to where I was able to get pushed out and support an army base in the area. So I had more chances to go out and support Jordanian ranges and things like that. That's not common. I was also supporting the embassy in the area. So we'd go out, we'd train Marines in UXO safety, and we would train to be able to respond to the embassy if the embassy had a threat actually on its compound. We did some other stuff as far as picking up, certain drones and stuff. I can't really go into a lot of detail with that because I don't really know what I can say and can't say on it. But that part was pretty cool. And there was a lab. We got to take things to them, and they got to, pretty much find out where those originated from. Then got to fly out to Kuwait, went to Kuwait TDY a few times while I was in Jordan. And there was a completely different story for what their deployment was compared to ours. They were sitting around pulling base support whenever something like would come up or something, they would respond. But other than that, very few calls, a lot of sitting around and training still, kind of like you would be doing stateside.
Anyone else? I figure the rest of you guys are probably too new, not getting a chance.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We would love a deployment, but those are far and few between. I believe for our shop, we're coming up on 2026 for our deployment band.
I will say part of the reason I asked that question is because one of the guys in the server, we have an old school EOD tech. He's retired. EOD operator is what he goes by. He did want to make sure to emphasize the fact that even though like it may be kind of tampered down, but like combat is a thing for EOD guys, especially Air Force guys. Like that is something that can and will happen as we go and put warheads on foreheads on our nation's enemies. So it's one of the things that he did want to make sure that you get out. It may not be as common or as likely right now, but who knows what the future holds for us. So especially with some of the changes that our panelists here are talking about with soft identifiers and those kinds of things. So it's one of the cool things I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I was actually going to build on to what you were saying. So as we were actually leaving, getting ready, and the new team came in, we actually got one of those requests from for forces from a Green Beret unit, and they were requesting 3 EOD techs to be able to go out into another country with them and pretty much spend 3 straight months as their EOD support with them for every mission they go on. So we built a X package, like took stuff from an X package, built them like a nice little equipment package to take out, and they headed out in the MATV, met up with them, and got to support Army Special Forces for 3 straight months. So it's definitely still happened. I believe one of the guys who the team leader, tech sergeant, that went out with them actually ended up getting a Bronze Star, I believe. Not 100% sure on that, but
Fucking cool, man. That's the cool stuff. See, that's why you do these jobs, right? Because you never know what the cool stuff's going to pop up. Before I actually ask the next question, Wolf, I'm probably gonna answer this for them. I don't think these guys can actually answer the question about a hardest exam they took and why, because a lot of that is integrity of the course. Plus, some of that stuff I believe is classified. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah, so I mean, I can talk about like attrition rates.
Well, this was more about specifically what was the hardest exam and why.
Yeah. So typically for the EOD school itself, the portion in Florida, most people will fail out like in ground/air, just because that's like sort of the culmination of all your fundamental EOD skills, and then you're applying it onto specific ordnance, whether it's like a projo or projectile, rocket, landmine, or like a bomb. Those are like your 2 main like divisions that you have to like, I guess, lock in for. We actually have Montana in the audience. He's currently in EOD school, but he can probably attest to the to that fact. Most people will be like, "Oh man, I gotta pass ground. I'm worried that I won't, pass friggin' landmines and stuff like that." But yeah, those are like the 2 like main ones.
As Montana is typing, one question that was asked by Wild Bill. It's a good question, but I'm going to ask it, I think, in a little bit better way. As someone who's coming into the Air Force brand new, with the discussions we had a little bit earlier about a little bit of overmanning, is EOD still something that would be something to get into right away at a BMT?
They're
think
still doing EOD contracts, so you could like just sign up for an EOD contract straight off
Hmm.
the street.
I don't know if the question is kind of hinting at an increased attrition rate, like forced on students, but if you
No.
have your stuff straight, you should be good.
I think I think the question stems from like what Heidi was saying a little bit earlier about right now at that lower kind of junior enlisted level, there was an overmanning, and so I think there was a concern about if there would even be an opportunity for those contracts. But the thing is, and I'll tell you this: there's every year people promote, every month people promote. Right. So just you talk to your recruiter, get yourself an EOD contract, just like you would a TAC P or a SWOE or any of those things. So it's a good question, though. Heidi, is that an 85% chance of graduating after air?
Yeah. So yeah, in prelim, I believe the attrition rate is like 55% will fail out. So then that 45% will move on. And then in EOD school, I think 30% overall throughout the whole entire EOD school, you'll get cut. But after you graduate air, you're fairly, certain that you'll pass or you get your badge. But yeah, there is like after air, there's like that 15% of people that either quit due to family issues or like usually it's like a personal admin thing.
What is can anyone give me an idea of what the attrition rate is for the entirety of the Air Force pipeline?
I think it's in 70s right now. 70s or 80s.
70% fail rate?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah,
not far
it's
behind us.
It's larger in prelim.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's usually early on is almost always in a pipeline where the higher percentage of failure comes in. So I have a feeling Mont's going to answer this one from the Army side. But for you guys, if you guys wouldn't mind keying in, this is a really good question. What's the difference in training and job capacity for EOD between the different branches?
So we all have like our baseline EOD school, right? Every branch goes there. I think the difference is like their specialty mission. So like Navy obviously is going to focus on underwater a lot more. They're also like the only straight out of graduation SOF EOD. So I know do like a lot of parachuting, CQB shooting, all that stuff. With the Army, from what I hear, is they like to focus on making their guys all like team leaders. So with the Air Force, we work up to being a good team member. And then once you get your 5 level and you make staff, then you start working on team leader stuff. With the Army, they kind of curate everybody to be a team leader. And then Marines, I couldn't tell you.
Well, if Marine, you have to be an NCO before you can be an EOD.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be E5 before you can go over to the EOD side.
The Marines are also the only branch who will inert live munitions.
Yeah, we actually TDY to their school to get hands-on on inerting like tow missiles and stuff like that.
If you can explain that for us non EOD types.
So like they'll take they'll take like a live munition with explosives in it, and they'll just make it. I don't really know the techniques they use. Somebody who like I think you said you went to the school. They'll just take it and make it to where it doesn't have any live explosives in it anymore.
That's fucking wild.
If anybody wants to expand on that, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, so I personally never went, but just from some of the guys at the shop who have went, the way that they explain it, it's pretty barbaric. Actually, they use sledgehammers and stuff to really just like slam components out of each other, like to separate them. And then once you separate the individual components, whether it's like a warhead from the rocket motor, they just carefully take care of the like essentially scrape out the explosives
Wild.
carefully.
That's wild.
The Marines are cowboys.
Yeah. Wolfpack. So the thing I'm going to answer this question because it's a general question. it has nothing to do with the job. It's about knowledge. So a clearance has to do with what kind of information you have access to. It has nothing to do specifically, like certain jobs require access into clearance. So like SR, because of what they do, requires it. EOD, because of some of the things that they work on, require it. If you're attack P and going into certain units, you need it. Actually, I think there's talk about changing the attack P to top secret to begin with. So it's just a matter of like what is required. Like certain documents, like an air tasking order in combat is classified, so you have to have a clearance just to access it. Right. So like those are that's the reason why jobs require clearances. It's not about you're comparing things weirdly. So that's all right. It's just a lack of knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with that. So. Anyone else in the chat, please, if you've got questions, please put them in the chat. Let me see if there's anything else I had in my head. I think you guys have answered all of mine. Do any of you guys have anything big that you guys just want to hit that I haven't asked, or that anyone in the chat hasn't asked?
You did talk and mention about schools and stuff. Minot likes to push guys to the Marine Breacher School, and a couple months ago, we had one of our guys come back from that. And it's pretty rare for other shops, I'm pretty sure. Minot is pretty common with the Breacher School.
It's a global strike thing.
Yeah, the reasoning is a little silly, but that is one of the cooler schools that I've seen guys get.
Yeah, that is one benefit. It's definitely a silly reason of why Global Strike likes to send EOD techs there. But I think we have currently like 8 breachers out of the shop, all out of the Marine Methods of Entry course.
That's cool, man. The Marines teach some really cool classes, man. Like the things that they teach is really cool.
Yeah, we're actually going to try to push a couple of guys to like mountain and stuff like that.
Ooh, this is a good question here from Zoltzgein, I guess is how you would say that. Are there any aspects of EOD training that could possibly be transferred over to a civilian skill set?
So one of the guys at my shop that is starting to get out is looking at jobs for like avalanche like prevention, where you use like commercial explosives to pretty much clear up. I don't know a whole bunch about it, but it sounded really cool.
That's wild, because usually they take old artillerymen because they fire old artillery cannons. Like that's how they do it here in Colorado, is they'll shoot it across the mountain, and it's a crazy wild sight to see. That's cool though.
That's pretty cool. It's hard to answer that question if he means like of what aspects of the job can we take away, or in the means of like, hey, what can this job lead into civilian wise? Is that what kind of asking? Or
I'm just reading it off the chat. I'm not exact. I read it pretty much word for word. I have a feeling that what he's looking at is like, one is like, is there something that like a police department bomb tech? Is that something that you could do?
I actually came from the law enforcement. I was a police officer before I joined the military, and most places are still going to want, even if you come from military, and a military EOD tech, you're still going to have to do your time on patrol for the majority of departments before they allow you to then move over. But there are aspects you can go straight into. One of the instructors that aids right now is a good friend of mine. He's in the process of trying to go over to an FBI unit, working as a bomb tech that kind of attaches to like the RSU unit right now. And it's something where you're not a special agent, but you can roll straight into that bomb tech realm. We work quite frequently with the FBI, so they know like our capabilities and they like getting us guys. The Secret Service, we obviously work quite a good bit with them doing the VIP submission and their TSC guys, or it's a good place to lead into that, getting a job with them because they like hiring EOD techs. There's a job in the airports that pretty much if you're not an EOD tech, you're never going to get the job. It's their technical security specialists, explosives. It's pretty much TSA guys who deal with training other TSA guys and how to identify like IED components and, pretty much respond accordingly to the explosives. Those are kind of the most common jobs.
Well, there, I think that answers your second part, your second there, Zoltz, man. And I know Montana answered in the chat a couple of key skill sets that could be used: attention to detail, learning quickly, safety, that kind of stuff. So, cool. Thanks, guys, for answering that. I see a couple of guys typing. I'm kind of trying to fill some time. Here we go. Good question. How does it work retraining to EOD? He's had some pieces like you go to the local shop on base, you need a developer for an IFT. But what does that look like? If I think all of you guys sound like you guys were all first term airmen who trained in, but do you guys have any insights on what it's like to cross train into EOD?
Yeah, we had a guy come in at when I was back CONUS come in. All he did, he walked into the shop. He said, "I'm interested in retraining." I think it's a week or 2 week period where we're gonna it's like an interview basically, where you see, if you're a good fit for the job, run you through some problems, teach you how to use some basic tools, see if you're a good learner, and then flight leadership will send up paperwork. All your cross training windows and stuff like that have to align, of course. But then it's just normal cross training stuff after that. Make sure you're prepared physically before going to the shop is pretty important, because that's another reason why cross training got shut down for a bit. From what I've heard through the grapevine, is that cross trainings were getting sent and then immediately getting flunked out because they weren't prepared physically, and it was just costing shops a lot, or it was costing a lot of money. And I'm not sure what the retraining situation is currently. If anybody has any new info on that, it's still shut down as far as I know.
Yeah, I tried asking my flight chief to get one of the maintenance guys on base to do some OJT on the job training with us. And yeah, as far as we know, according to the CFM, career field manager, like cross training is currently shut down, unfortunately, because of like the reoccurring issues of like PT, just failing PT, and just overall like bad candidates.
So keep track of what's going on with it, because it may change as time goes on. But train physically, make sure that you're ready to go, and keep in contact with your local shop, the EOD flight. So here's another one from Wild Bill. This is a pretty good one. He's 17, plans on joining when he graduates. What should they train the most until then? Should it be more focused on physical or some kind of mental training?
I don't really think there's anything you can study. I guess like working on attention, like being able to absorb knowledge quickly, just being attentive, being a good learner. Physically, well, I would say the biggest thing at prelim is a bunch of farmers carries, stuff like that. Just being in good shape. Really, you don't have to be in crazy shape, but like being able to run, being able to do push-ups, just being. I don't even know how to describe it. Just being in shape. Don't go there thinking that you're going to be able to coast through PT. It's pretty difficult, but like just being a good learner is the biggest part of it.
Farmers carries are good for anyone. On the academic side, this is just me as an educator, as someone who works in a university. I would tell you just read a lot. And it doesn't have to be anything specifically, but like just to be if you can retain knowledge, just that's going to always help. But farmers carries is always good. Like just get some kettlebells and walk with it. Grip strength, man, grip strength.
Yes, grip strength is huge.
All right, I see.
I'll say
go ahead.
The more fit you are and able to handle a PT, the easier it is on your mental when you go do classwork stuff, because if you're not as beat, right, you're able to focus a lot more, you're not as tired. And a lot of the people who failed out academically were not the most in shape. So kind of anecdotal, but
well, it's actually not really anecdotal, because if you think about it, when your body's reactions when you're under stress is very similar to what it is when you're being physically active. So if you are physically fit, your body isn't as focused as much on trying to maintain its just function. And so you have more space for mental capacity if you're physically fit. It's one of the most important reasons why in AFSPECWAR we focus so much on physical fitness, because if you're physically fit, as you get to a place, you're not so worn out that you can't make good decisions, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Also, to add on to that, like when you get to your shop, the first thing you're gonna do, more than likely, is morning PT. In the I don't know, most flights have a gym at the shop, and if you're like a dirt bag and you can't push weight or like run or like have anything, like if you're fat, like the straight up, you're going to be judged.
I'm fat now. I'm not fat. I wasn't fat then. I'm fat now.
Yeah.
I got that
So,
DD
yeah,
214 though,
PT
baby.
is definitely important. There's nothing like specific. I just uploaded like the OSPA and IFT standards. So if you guys want to take a look at that, those are like on the Air Force side things that we look for.
As we wait for Wild Bill's I'm gonna have his question be the last one as we're wrapping up on an hour. I want to be respectful of all your all's time. Thank you again, first off, for taking the time to do this. This has been really awesome. I really appreciate y'all. But before we hit Wild Bill's last question, or it looks like he stopped typing, but there we go. Before we get to his question, if you guys, what is everybody's one piece of advice that you would give to a potential EOD tech?
Like going through the school or like us, like you've made it.
Whatever. I leave it up to you.
Going through the school, it is not as bad as it seems. Like all the anxiety that you have for a test is kind of stupid. Looking back on it, like I was stressed out for no reason. So don't do that.
Use all the time that the schoolhouse gives you. Like when you make it to Florida, some days you'll have the option of leaving early. Just go ahead and stay till 4. Stay as late as they'll let you, and just keep getting your reps in. It doesn't look good to leave early and then fail the next day and then have to explain why you left early.
I would say it's really easy to get tunnel vision when you're working your problems and stuff. You can see it happen with new guys and then straight up team leaders because they're processing a lot of information at one time. And guys really like to get tunnel visioned. And I would say when you get stressed out like that and you get that tunnel vision, just like take a breath, take a bigger picture of what you're looking at, because usually that will save you. So.
Along the similar veins, I would say like be open to criticism, especially on the in the EOD career field. There's a lot of people that will gently bully you, for legal reasons. It's gentle bullying, but just be able to accept feedback and then change your ways when you are doing something wrong, whether it's EOD skills or just being an airman.
I think my advice would probably be kind of along the same lines of that at some point in the pipeline or an upgrade training, you're going to fail, you're going to mess up a task of some sort. You just got to kind of take it on the chin, be humble, take the feedback, and try not to make that same mistake twice and just keep moving on. But don't get too down about it because it's going to happen to all of us.
So we got one last question. I said that it was going to be Bill's. So his question was cardio versus weight training, which is more important. What would you guys say?
Yes.
Good answer.
Yeah.
It's kind of dependent on your instructor group. Some instructor groups like to run a lot more, and some like to do like calisthenics and stuff. So just be well rounded. That's like, I don't know, just be
That's
optimal.
mainly in reference to like prelim. I think like for me, I don't really do much cardio, but like we just recently did a base wide tournament. Like it was called Desert Showdown. That was put up by the medical group, and we took top 3 out of 4. And I can assure you, most of us don't do cardio,
Hmm.
and mostly weight lift. But we all get after it. So I mean, if you do struggle in one thing, like focus on that, like work on your weaknesses first before just only specializing in like the bench press, for example.
Yeah.
I get my cardio from squat.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, I want to say thanks again for taking the time to do this, guys. I know you guys are probably busy. So I want to say thank you. This will be up here soon on YouTube. I hope everyone learned something from this. But thanks again, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Also, thank you to Montana for giving us a student perspective right now. I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you guys again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Undo the recording.